Tonight, we begin with something that has long puzzled minds and sparked wonder: the pyramids. Those enormous stone triangles rising from the desert sands, standing silent and majestic for over 4,000 years. They make many people say, no way humans built that. A sentiment, frankly, a bit unfair to the ancient Egyptians. So, before you settle in, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do. And please drop a comment telling me where you're retuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see the global tapestry of people joining in among humanity's many enduring mysteries, disappearing civilizations. Ancient curses, or lost Kesnon, holds quite the same place as the pyramids. These giant, unapologetically massive limestone monuments dominate the desert landscape with a majesty that commands attention. They are mathematically precise, older than your family tree, your country, your language, and perhaps even your sense of style. Standing at the base of the Great Pyramid and looking up makes skyscrapers seem insecure, and unlike modern skyscrapers, they weren't erected with computer models, cranes, or workers arguing over lunch breaks. They were built using stone tools, sweat, ingenious organization, and an ancient stubbornness worthy of global admiration. The big question that haunts many is this: how did the ancient Egyptians construct these immense monuments without modern technology? It fascinates and taunts people alike, fueling documentaries narrated with booming voices and dramatic flair. Every year, new theories: surface ramps, spirals, water flotation, giants, sound levitation, or even forgotten civilizations with lost technologies. Yet it seems easier for some to believe in ancient secrets or aliens than to accept a simple truth. The Egyptians were remarkably skilled and dedicated workers. The pyramids were not miracles or cosmic mysteries. They were engineering feats. Tens of thousands of skilled laborers, probably more interested in their wages, bread rations, and a rare day off than any monumental glory built them. The pyramids, revered as symbols of mystery, were in fact construction projects, massive, difficult undertakings, but straightforward in purpose. The real question isn't whether humans built them, but how the ancient Egyptians managed such a monumental engineering achievement, placing one perfectly cut block at a time. Let us clear a major misconception. The pyramids were not built by enslaved people whipped under the sun. This myth persists mostly because filmmakers love drama and because it's an easy, if false, narrative. In truth, the pyramids were built by paid workers, receiving wages, food, housing, medical care, and supervised by overseers who even kept performance notes on pottery shards. These weren't random peasants, but skilled specialist quarrymen, architects, engineers, toolmakers, bakers, brewers, rope makers, and stone haulers with thighs tough enough to crush chariots. Many came from farming families who joined rotating labor gangs during the Nile's flood season when farming was impossible. These gangs had names like Friends of Khufu, a bit charming until you remember. Khufu's pyramid is like a small mountain. Archaeologists discovered entire villages built for these workers near the pyramids, with bakeries, barracks, breweries, kitchens, and medical facilities, including cemeteries where workers who died on the job were buried with honor.
Oh no.
No cemetery exists for slaves. Beer was part of the workers' daily rations, not cheap swill, but a thick, nutritious beverage that doubled as an ancient energy drink. It boosted morale and kept mild dehydration at bay. Working in the desert heat, hauling immense limestone blocks in linen clothing under a merciless sun was grueling. But these workers weren't disposable. They were valued essential contributors to the largest building project the world had ever seen. Far from lazy scribes doodling pyramid shapes in the sand, the ancient architects and overseers were elite mathematicians, surveyors and planners, what we might call the nerd squad of ancient Egypt. They studied geometry, measurements, astronomy, and logistics, using ropes with knotted intervals to measure distances and angles, and relied on stargazing to align the pyramids with astonishing precision to cardinal directions. They tracked circumpolar stars to find true north, a feat so precise modern surveyors marvel at it. The builders solved complex engineering issues with slope ratios, load distribution, internal chambers, and relieving blocks to ensure stability. Their planning extended beyond the pyramid itself to worker housing, water distribution, tool management, stone logistics, and ramp construction. Imagine designing a city, a supply chain, a colossal monument, and a gigantic triangle all in one. While racing against the pharaoh's reign, who might haunt you for delays. Even pyramid placement was deliberate, built on bedrock near the Nile for transportation, close to quarries, to minimize laborious hauling, a world away from the idea that the pyramids were merely stacked rocks. These structures were planned with brilliance, discipline, and just enough mathematical charm to endure thousands of years. The pyramids aren't enigmas. They're monuments to ancient Egyptian engineering mastery. Before any block touched a ramp or a ruler drew the first perfect angle, tens of thousands of stone blocks had to be cut from solid bedrock, back-breaking, brutal task. Much of the limestone for the Great Pyramid came from quarries right beside the site, considered a stroke of luck by ancient standards. Copper chisels and stone hammers were the primary tools. Blunt against hard materials, demanding constant sharpening by blacksmiths working tirelessly to keep the tools usable. For tougher stones like granite, quarried miles away in Aswan, workers used dolerite pounders, basically dense rocks wielded like sledgehammers in relentless pounding until granite yielded. Moving these immense stones out of quarries involved hauling them along prepared tracks, inch by inch, driven by teams of workers motivated by the enthusiasm or stern sticks of overseers. The quarry was more than a starting point. It was the crucible where stone and sweat melded into eternity's raw building blocks. Transporting multi-ton blocks over sandy desert looks like a job for cranes and forklifts, but the Egyptians had neither. Instead, they relied on clever engineering, teamwork, and a mountain of stubbornness. Contrary to popular images, stones didn't roll on wooden logs. Wood was rare and sacred in Egypt. They used sledges, big wooden sleds loaded with stone blocks and pulled by long teams with thick ropes, often coordinated by shouting leaders. But the real secret to moving them across shifting sand lay in watering the sand ahead of the sleds, reducing friction, and easing their heavy loads, drag a simple yet brilliant ancient science. In this way, ancient Egyptians harnessed skill, science, and sheer human perseverance to assemble one of humanity's most magnificent feats, stone by stone. When water is sprinkled onto loose sand, the grains cling together, drastically cutting down on friction. Suddenly, the sledge moves smoothly across the desert floor, as if the ancient builders had discovered a clever shortcut, an early version of a cheat code. This isn't just modern guesswork, it's shown in ancient paintings where one worker is always depicted pouring water in front of the sledge, almost like he's performing routine maintenance, while the others pull in unison. For longer journeys, massive stone blocks traveled by river barges, floated up and down the Nile on sturdy wooden boats, so reliable they might as well have had sponsorships. Crews loaded stones at the quarry docks, navigated the Nile, and unloaded at nearby ramps amid controlled chaos. But the real challenge was on the desert sands, where hauling required rhythm, coordinated chance, and enough tension on ropes to test even the calmest safety inspector. Egyptians never shrugged in defeat. Instead, over generations, they perfected this daunting task into a sort of national sport not for glory, but because pyramids had to be built, and the pharaoh's eternal journey depended on timely completion. If climbing a modern stairmaster feels like torture, ancient Egyptians crafted the ultimate stairmaster system, but instead of plastic steps and cool fans, they had sun-baked ramps and foremen yelling faster. When people think of pyramid construction, they often picture 100 men pulling blocks with ropes and sweat. What they should picture instead is a network of ramps long straight ones. Zigzagging paths, spirals curling like sandstone unicorn horns, snaking across the desert like colossal traffic jams in stone transport. Straight ramps, often built from mudbrick limestone chippings and crushed hopes, climbed one pyramid side directly effective. Early on, but growing impractical as the pyramid rose taller, requiring ramps extending nearly to distant cities and blocking the pyramid's face, much to the architect's chagrin. To solve this, zigzag ramps snaked back and forth, turning hauling into a relentless cardio challenge worthy of electrolytes. Spiraling ramps wrapped around like giant horns, creative but chaotic, causing haulers to collide like mountain goats on a twisted trail. Throughout construction, ramps were continually built, extended, and adjusted. Workers built not just the pyramid, but the very ramps that enabled them to construct it. It was construction layered within construction. Despite the difficulties, these ramps worked. Efficient, powerful, straightforward, and bare of modern gimmicks. If you picture the workforce as disorganized slaves collapsing under harsh conditions to the shout of an angry overseer, it's time to reconsider. Reality was far more impressive organized chaos with a touch of disorder for flavor. Workers were paid laborer-skilled craftsmen, seasonal laborers, and farmers who took on side jobs during the Nile's flood season, a kind of ancient unionized workforce, rotating shifts and living in dedicated villages, complete with bakeries, breweries, clinics, and barracks. Yes, clinics. Because in an operation building a literal mountain of stone, injuries were inevitable. These workers formed gangs with playful names like the Friends of Khufu or the Drunk Butt, determined crew names that sound surprisingly like modern recreational sports teams. Each gang had its hierarchy, supervisors, team leads, and scribes who meticulously tracked productivity. Amenhotep moved 3 blocks today. Kenru moved 2 and complained about his back. There were cooks baking tens of thousands of loaves daily, brewers filling vats of beer, and butchers resembling an ancient supermarket handling livestock regularly. Beer was part of the daily ration, a potent blend of hydration and morale booster. The ancient Egyptians essentially invented the drink on the job. Worker roles varied, skilled stonecutters as elite specialists, muscle-bound haulers dragging blocks with ropes, riggers coordinating lifts, water carriers responsible for keeping everyone hydrated and for wetting the sand under sledges, and supervisors orchestrating efforts with dramatic signals. Despite the scale and intensity, the system functioned remarkably well. Workers rotated shifts, teams competed for efficiency, injuries were treated, and medical records showed signs of long-term care. This was no disposable labor force, but a treasured asset of manpower, logistics, and perhaps ancient motivational speeches. It was exhausting and chaotic but organized chaos that created monuments so massive. Thousands of years later, people insist aliens must have been involved. The workforce was fueled by a diet designed for endurance. Bread, onions, fish and, crucially, enough beer to keep them going. Bread was the backbone. Hearty loaves packed with calories to sustain long days of stone hauling. Onions, plentiful and calorie-dense, offered spiritual protection and nutrition, transforming the workers into remarkably efficient labor machines with quite a pungent aroma. Dried fish provided essential protein for muscle repair and output of over 4,000 calories. Burned daily was estimated for each laborer, and then there was the real star, the beer. Ancient Egyptian beer wasn't the crisp, light brew of modern times. It was a thick, bready, nutritious drink. Closer to a liquid loaf than a beverage, consumed in estimated quantities of 4 liters per person daily. It provided hydration, calories, and perhaps a questionable dose of motivation. Imagine dragging a stone block the size of a small car after your 3rd liter of breakfast beer. The ancient depictions of gods with animal heads might just make sense after that. This carefully engineered diet was the world's first state-sponsored masquerading program, designed to keep thousands constructing some of humanity's most iconic stone structures: bread, onions, fish, and beer. Simple, unglamorous, but incredibly effective. Beyond the workers' effort, the Great Pyramid's precision is astonishing, confounding modern engineers. The alignment is so accurate, it suggests technology far beyond the era. But the Egyptians achieved it with sticks, string, and the stars, aligning the structure within fractions of a degree of true north. Today we have GPS and digital tools to help us cook noodles, yet the Egyptians achieved this awe-inspiring feat purely through observation and determination. And then there was the leveling, the exacting task of ensuring the pyramid's base was perfectly flat and stable. The base of the Great Pyramid rests on a platform so flawlessly flat that it puts many modern construction sites to shame. Stretching across an area the size of several football fields, the variation in height is less than the width of a human thumb. This remarkable precision was achieved without bulldozers, lasers, or digital levels. And the pyramid's sides, each is nearly identical in length, with differences measured in mere millimeters, a level of accuracy more akin to Swiss watchmaking than ancient stone cutting with copper chisels taught by priestly embalming experts. How was this done? Carefully, with patience and unparalleled teamwork. The Egyptians employed ropes, grids, plumb bobs, water trenches, stargazing, and an unyielding resolve to get everything just right. Mistakes were fixed immediately. No good enough, no post-production fixes. And ironically, none of this precision was aimed at impressing future archaeologists or modern skeptics. It was driven by their religious demand for perfection, and the very real fear of being the person blamed for a crooked pyramid. Their goal wasn't merely achievable, it was eternal, and they accomplished it. Transporting the stone blocks was impressive, but placing them that was where ancient Egyptian engineering said, let's get ridiculous. Once the colossal stones were dragged over desert sledges by teams fueled by beer and sheer determination, the immense task of lifting multi-ton blocks up the ascending slopes began. With no pulleys, cranes, or forklifts. They used levers, a simple wooden beam wedged under a block, then pushed down to lift the block up. This lift-wedge-lift technique, repeated countless times, was the ancient version of tapping snooze, except with incredibly heavy stones. Sledges were not just for dragging horizontally. They helped with vertical adjustments too. Teams coordinated pulling, guiding ropes, and plenty of grunting, under constantly watchful supervisors barking commands. Blocks didn't snap perfectly into place. They were coaxed into position like reluctant cats. Small stones acted as temporary support, and string grids one worker squinting with a taut rope ensured alignment. The precision of these fits is staggering, with joints so tight that even a knife blade cannot slip between the stones today. Every block was adjusted repeatedly under harsh desert sun and swirling dust. The repetition of this process millions of times is the true marvel, a testament not to lost technology, but to human strength, geometry, and unwavering commitment. Inside the pyramid, ancient Egyptian architects revealed their genius and dramatic flair. The king's chamber, built entirely from massive granite blocks, quarried over 500 meters away in Aswan, weighs between 50 and 80 tons each, kin to small whales or heated arguments. These were hauled into place using angled ramps that spiraled or zigzagged inside the pyramid, allowing horizontal dragging instead of impossible vertical lifts. Teams maneuvered these with levers, rollers, and sledges, guided by relentless determination and no hydraulic aids. Above the king's chamber, clever system of relieving chambers stacked with massive stone beams redistributes the pyramid's colossal weight. This shock absorber system prevents collapse, preserving the chamber beneath millions of tons of stone, an ancient insurance policy for the pharaoh's eternal rest. The Egyptians mastered structural load distribution centuries before such concepts were formalized in engineering lectures. They didn't just build monuments. They crafted intricate puzzles that continued to challenge modern experts with a casual elegance that whispers, "It's just what we do." Life at the Giza construction site was far from isolated hardship. Workers lived in a bustling, purpose-built village with straight streets. Bakeries producing mountains of dense, calorie-packed bread, breweries supplying nutritious beer, clinics tending to injuries, and barracks organizing shifts. The site functioned like an ancient industrial town, dusty, chaotic, but well-managed. Workers consumed roughly 4 liters of beer daily for hydration and nutrition, thick, mildly alcoholic, and hearty. The village had butcheries processing cattle, sheep, and goats to provide regular meat meals. The diet included bread, onions grown both for food and spiritual protection, dried fish to supply essential protein, and gallons of beer. Medical care was surprisingly advanced. Skeletons show perfectly healed fractures, revealing the presence of orthopedic care. Injured workers weren't discarded, rehabilitated, and returned to the workforce. Daily life was social. Workers ate, slept, joked, and likely grumbled about supervisors. Graffiti on walls shows gang names like Friends of Khufu, sounding more like social clubs than labor teams. This human, organized system powered one of history's grandest construction projects, without lasers or alien tools. Instead, their brilliance lay in simple tools, copper chisels that dulled quickly and required constant sharpening, wooden mallets as effective chiseling aids and perhaps ancient stress relievers, stone pounders for forceful shaping, wooden sledges for moving heavy stones, and dense dolerite balls, essentially sturdy rocks used to bash limestone into submission. This simple but effective toolkit, wielded with unmatched skill and determination, allowed the ancient Egyptians to build monuments that remain awe-inspiring millennia later. So their engineering mastery lay not in advanced technology, but in ingenious use of basic tools, persistent human effort, and meticulous organization. It's a story of real people, real sweat, and real genius, kept forever in the stone pyramids that continue to captivate the world. Every chisel strike seemed to whisper softly, "This pharaoh had better appreciate our labor." Then came the stone pounders, wielded by those workers with boundless enthusiasm. Their task was simple, yet relentless. Smash, just smash, smash the limestone blocks until they yielded the perfect shape. Archaeologists have uncovered piles of shattered dolerite balls scattered across the sites, remnants of workers who truly committed, much like someone at the gym declaring everyday arm day, pounding away with unyielding force. But the true brilliance lay not in the tools themselves, but in the methods woven around them. Egyptians marked their work with precise grids, red ochre guidelines glowing faintly in the desert light, plumb lines of taut string hanging still against the sky, and levels crafted from serene water trenches that mirrored the horizon's calm. Nothing more than basic geometry, keen eyesight, and a profound patience that stretched across generations. They achieved an accuracy that modern contractors might attribute to machines. Their tools were humble, born of copper and wood. Their techniques, elegant as the Nile's gentle curve. Their craftsmanship, legendary, enduring through millennia. They needed no alien intervention, just skill, discipline, a shared resolve to fulfill the pharaoh's grand vision, a cosmic monument rising slow and sure from the sands. At some quiet moment in this tale, a natural question drifts into the mind like mist over the river at dawn. Why? Why raise something so immense, dragging millions of stone blocks through blistering desert heat? Why channel decades of a nation's heart into a triangular mountain that holds no gift shop, no echoing halls for visitors? Ancient Egypt offered layered answers, each revealing the pyramids as spiritual beacons, political statements, or the earliest echoes of dynastic rivalry, my lineage towering over yours. First, religion wove deepest through it all. Afterlife was no fleeting dream, but a grand, meticulously staged eternal drama with the pharaoh as its radiant star. The pyramid stood not merely as a tomb, but as a resurrection machine, vast stone launchpad designed to propel the king's soul skyward, along sun rays symbolizing divine ascent to join the gods. Its very shape evoked those golden beams, a slope for the spirit to climb toward immortality, eternal and unyielding. Politics followed close, a shadow of power cast long across the land. Pharaohs ruled not by vote but by divine mandate, their ambitions boundless, their dread of oblivion profound. A pyramid was no simple structure. It was a proclamation etched in stone. My reign endures forever. My might knows no equal. Let rivals tremble. It broadcast absolute command over labor, resources, logistics, even the Earth's own geology, a billboard of dominance, 480 feet tall, visible from the heavens themselves. And yes, legacy and display played their part. Pharaohs, touched by godhood, reveled in grandeur. Who, wielding such power, wouldn't commission the colossal? The Great Pyramid became a statement echoing Ozymandias, "Look upon my works, the mighty, and measure if you dare these dimensions defy the stars." Yet beyond flexing, these monuments unified the realm. Workers were nourished, sheltered, compensated. Farmers found purpose in flood season. Industries bloomed to feed the effort. The pyramid project stirred the economy like a vast stimulus, veiled in sacred stone. In essence, pyramids embodied religion's hush, politics' thunder, legacy's glow, engineering's quiet triumph, and the desert's ultimate assertion. Millennia later, their message endures, standing sentinel, whispering of human will made manifest. In medieval Europe, the open road unfolded less as a gentle path between villages, and more as a shadowed hunting ground, where peril shadowed every weary step. Travelers dreaded the encroaching woods, not for wild beasts, though wolves and boars, prowled, but for something far more sinister, men who hunted like predators themselves. Highwaymen earned their grim title, wolves of the road, through cunning patience and a cold grasp of mortal fear. Every pilgrim seeking sacred shrines, every merchant with laden carts, every courier clutching sealed parchments knew this truth. Beyond city walls, law faded thin, and the hunters lay in wait. Authorities of the age struggled to tame the wilds. Trolls wandered sparse and weary. Roads crumbled untended. Forests thickened like ancient veils, swallowing gangs whole. Bandits knew these realms as kin-mapping ambushes at narrow crossings where wagons faltered. Sharp bends veiling riders' sight, bridges muffling hooves beneath drawn steel, overgrown Roman paths cracked by time's slow hand. Hours might pass in solitude, unbroken save by the one soul coveting your coin. What set highwaymen apart from petty thieves was not mere ferocity, but their shadowed order. Lone wolves prowled, yet the deadliest hunted in packs, bound by whistles mimicking birdsong or distant calls. Scouts clung to branches like silent ghosts, eyes tracing dust clouds from afar. Others donned guises of harmless wanderers, mingling with pilgrims to spy fat purses. Holy relics, silks, spices, or ransom-worthy missives. The strike fell swift, a felled tree barring the way, a rope snaring a horse's legs, a dagger's chill kiss at the throat. The ultimatum hung simple-eeled, or vanish unseen. Even nobles found no sanctuary. Lords rode with guards, yet tavern spies whispered of dawn departures, riches inbound. Informants lurked in monasteries, markets trading secrets for spoils. If coin or finery weighed a noble's train, bandits knew before the saddle warmed. Fear reigned the roads, for these wolves grasped one eternal truth in medieval Europe. The journey often eclipsed the haven in dread. If highwaymen chilled the blood, the land itself conspired with them. Europe's contours dense, woods, mountain throats, marsh vales, forsaken Roman veins forged natural traps where fates turned in heartbeats. Bandits mastered this terrain warfare, not as mere cutthroats, but as lords of shadow and stone. Forests loomed worst. Black forest glooms, Sherwood's tangled heart. Carpathian whispers visibility shrank to claustrophobic tunnels of leaf and murk. Travelers spoke of snapping twigs trailing soft leaves sighing under unseen feet, that prickling sense of eyes upon them. And eyes there were, perched high, weighing horse gates, cart burdens, bulging pouches, murmured fates. Mountain passes offered no reprieve. Alps' icy jaws, Pyrenees' jagged maws, Balkan spines, thieves claimed heights, losing rock slides to cage caravans twixt sheer walls, escape fled. Arrows whispered from above, boulders rolled like judgment. Handful of 5 could pin 20 through vantage alone. Forgotten Roman roads, once empire's spine, now lay vine-choked, route vignette channeled travelers predictably. Milestones toppled to shelter. Arches overgrew 2 layers. Wilderness reclaimed the old order, but bandits bloomed amid ruins. Peril crept not always in thunder, but a slow noose's draw. Silence unnatural fell no birdsong, no far voices. Then anomalies, a shattered wagon mid-path, a purse dangling from stump-like lure. The wise wheeled back, the hesitant lingered. That pause sufficed. Nature hid not just the wolves it, armed them, twisting realms into ambush weave, where safe passage teetered on a breath's edge. While solitary shades haunted medieval lanes, true dread bloomed from gang shadow brotherhoods knit not by oath or gold, but raw survival, avarice, necessity.
I'll be tight.
Each knew the creed. Trust none save the blade at your flank. Where kings marshaled knights in steel, bandits forged hierarchies of cunning, iron discipline, lethal grace. Most sprang from desperation runaway serfs fleeing tax-crushing lords, mercenaries cast adrift post-war, deserters dodging noose, rogues scenting gallows reek. Yet from this brew, leaders rose, captains blending guile and fury, commanding fealty through terror laced with allure. Their decree carved life from death, spoils from strike. These were no frenzied swarms slashing blind. Their halls unfolded as plotted sieges. Some members drifted into taverns like shadows at dusk, ears attuned to murmurs of wealthy merchants or nobles stirring at dawn. Others mastered the quiet craft of ambush felling trees with muffled thuds, weaving tripwires from forest sinew or planting false beacons to draw the unwary into silent dead ends. A select few served as calm negotiators, their voices steady as they issued threats that lingered like fog, while comrades held blades firm at trembling throats. Codes bound these gangs loosely, varying like whispers through the woods. Some swore no needless blood, no harm to women, no betrayal among kin. Others reveled in unrelenting cruelty, weaving death into daily rhythm. Yet all shared one shadowed creed: strike like lightning, vanish like mist. Robbery done, they melted into the forest's embrace, leaving soldiers to chase echoes and footprints fading into endless green. Hidden camps sprouted deep in the wilds, fortified with pitfalls, snares, and rough palisades of woven branch. Temporary havens, abandoned at the first hint of pursuit, some so cunningly veiled that hunters passed within arm's reach of armed watchers, oblivious to the peril. Alliances flickered briefly when rich prizes loomed rival packs, uniting for royal couriers. Silk-laden trains, abbey-bound coffers, spoils carved unevenly before bonds shattered, often in bloodied clashes. Two medieval lords and sheriffs, these were no mere thieves, but guerrilla phantoms, elusive, relentless, weaving fear across realms long before their shadows touched a gate. A highwayman wielded not just steel, but the chill of dread that struck before any clash. Arms were plain, forged for shadow work, short swords slicing swift, hand axes biting deep, cudgels bruising silent, long knives vanishing into cloaks. Bows favored by ex-hunters or scarred veterans halted caravans from a far-won arrow, whispering into earth. Beside a mount's hoof sufficed to freeze the bold. True peril lay in orchestration. Roadblocks met with pincer swarms from flank and wood, ropes yanking riders earthward before cries rose, daggers sealing silence. Your psychological veils deepened the snare tree carved sigils of wolf skulls. Slashed crosses claiming shadowed turf, stirring prayers and skittish hooves. False pleas echoed too. A wounded figure sprawled mid-path, luring compassionate pilgrims to aid, only for a whistle to unleash the pack from underbrush. Chroniclers mourned how mercy itself turned treacherous on forsaken trails. Twilight and dawn cloaked their hunts best, shadows twisting forms into phantoms, eyes straining foe from friend. Night brought rattling chains mimicking spirits, beast cries sowing chaos, superstition bending minds before blades fell. Even post-plunder dread lingered. Spared survivors fled with tales ballooned by terror, seeding road fear far ahead. For these wolves, fear was kin to steel wounds healed, but whispers conquered souls eternal. On medieval roads, peril spared none, yet savored certain prey-living vaults cloaked in faith or finery. Pilgrims fell easiest, foot-weary souls trekking holy paths, pouches heavy with shrine offerings, relics glinting soft. Plain robes hid scant steel. Devotion traced predictable veins through sacred ways. Bandits charted rest halts, crossroads pauses, weaving in as fellow seekers hours of murmured camaraderie before steel flashed true. Merchants drew sharper hunger, their wagons rolling treasuries, cloth bales, salted fish barrels, spice sacks, wine casks, beeswax, hides all ripe for shadow markets. Beasts too fetched coin. Guards hired oft crumbled to bribe or blade. Market whispers betrayed loads northward. Dooming trains, air wheels met wild. Nobles endured unique shame. Ransom stripped finery, jewels, signet gleams. Some sent barefoot home, pride in rags. Kin paid dearly for return. Resistance or peasant cruelty invited savage ends. Truest tragedy cloaked the humble peasants, clutching scant grain, rosaries whittled plain. Bandits scoffed at poverty's veil. Loaves, cloaks, boots seized as hidden gold. Stripped bare, they faced famine, frost. Impossible treks robbery, not mere fright, but life's fragile threads severed. Yet wolves met hounds at last. Medieval powers, stretched thin, countered piecemeal. Sheriffs patrolling shires, militias mustered hasty, mercenaries loosed for hire. Sheriffs bore first watch warrants raised, posses trailed prints into gloom yet, manpower ebbed woods endless. Tax-weary elders, more ledger than lance, bowed to please. Travelers clamored safe paths, merchants shunned peril zones, nobles railed ransoms paid. They rode outnumbered shadows their quarry. Village arms swelled rank smiths, tillers, woodwrights gripping spears. Axes crude summoned when gangs boldened roots. Caravans vanished, paths bled fear. Lords called folk to scour. Triumphs came sudden, numbers crushing careless packs. Failures saw phantoms flee. Villagers trudging home mocked as ghost chasers. Mercenaries menaced deepest war veterans in mail, bow, and blade honed, unbound by law's leash. Kings, merchants, abbeys, unleashed them on plague times, track, trap, example carved. Headstrong saddles fetched coin. Gangs splintered, paranoid, fleeing, or fratricidal. Yet woods chose battle's ambush, favored rogue over rank. Corruption gnawed, sheriffs bribed, nobles harbored wolves, mercenaries turned feral postpay. Roads knew no lasting peace. Push met retreat, regroup, return law, but fleeting guest in Europe's wild heart. When net closed on a wolf, justice roared, not soft, but spectacle, vast public stage for every wanderer, aspirant rogue, huddled hamlet. Behold, the roadwolf's end. Crossroads, gibbets, gate gallows, hilltop news, chosen for eyes afar. Travelers beheld corpses swaying wind, lind lulled, lines rotting slow till bones chimed grim. Psychological lash to quell the next. To hardened kin, mere wagers proof. Gibbets amplified the right. A gibbet was an iron cage, grim and unyielding, where a bandit's corpse or, sometimes a barely breathing form was locked away to wither under open sky. Crows wheeled slow overhead, drawn to the feast, while whispers passed among travelers of the thief's shadowed tale. Such cages lingered years by lonely roadsides, rust blooming like forgotten blood, etching warnings into generations of wayfarers. Children grew gazing upward at those swaying relics, taught that road wolves met their end within cold bars. For gangs steeped in savagery, justice sharpened crueler, dismemberment scattered limbs like broken oaths, branding seared cheeks or brows with marks of exile, wheels crushed bones slow under public gaze proclaiming not mere theft, but order's deep violation demanding a death etched long in memory. Brands on survivors banished them from hearth and hall. No village, no tavern offered bread or ale to the scarred. Driven back to whispering woods, they swelled new packs from dire need, perpetuating the cycle law sought to sever. Yet justice's hand faltered often. False charges snared the innocent a wanderer with dagger, and coin purse mistaken for rogue, voiceless amid accusations. Lords hanged peasants to feign vigilance, corruption twisting scales. Gold bought freedom for the cunning thief, while beggars swung for a stolen loaf. Brutality quelled some shadows, yet for each crossroads corpse, 2 more wolves slunk forth. Public rights bred dread, but also myths common cut purses, rising as folk specters, their bones dust, yet tales enduring. Not all wolves crumbled, unmarked or gibbet-bound. Some slipped laws noosed not through slyfoot alone, but alchemy of crime to legend. Medieval hearths cradled dark yarns, burnishing the fell with glory's gleam. Ballads recast thieves as rebels bold, slayers as vengeance's hand, road shadows as champions of the crushed. Robin Hood gleams brightest, roots tangled in outlaw chants and court scrapsmen, or myth mosaic. His saga bloomed from folk hunger, a scourge of the rich, mocker of bent sheriffs, shield of the frail. In Lord Cruelty's grip, unequal scales, belief in such a blade wielder soothed the weary soul. Germany whispered Schwartz Hans, highway shade praying cruel barons, sparing humble feet. France hymned gammon Lulu, Ardennes ghost, gliding silent as mist. Eastern winds carried Fakaz Piel, rebel flame against noble yoke. Saints none, these killers honed hard, yet lore laundered blood to virtue. What sparked such transmutation? Resentment's slow ember, tax-burdened fields, tithe-gnawed hearths. Winter's bite folk yearned for counterstrike against power's heel. Priests thundered doom from pulpits, yet night fires nursed outlaw praise. Some wolves shaped their guise, sparing souls, sharing scraps for noble thief renown. Others sowed dread tales of spirit packs, wolf commands, woodland shades fear, hushing tongues, bending wills. Ironically, harsher gibbets fanned brighter flames. Crossroads noosed bandits swelled to symbol justice's win or rebel's cry. Yarns gilded last breaths, defiant stance. Sheriff curs hurled bold, new smiles serene. Outlaws lived doubly flesh fleeting. Myth immortal whispering through ages that kings' scepters bowed not to every forest shade. By late medieval hush, crowns forged firmer holds, roads smooth stone, patrols wove tighter webs. Yet as Europe stirred towards steadier dawn, one verity lingered soft. Road wolves never wholly faded. They shifted form, sank deeper shade, or wove into society's frayed edge. Banditry breathed not crime's whim alone, but worlds fracture poverty's pang. War's wake, graph's grasp, isolation's veil colliding ceaseless. Life hung fragile then. Blighted fields, tyrant lords, coinless campaigns woe, turn plowman to prowler, starve or seize, bleak fork for the hearthless. Veterans sword solo, payless post-battle, drifted to dusk paths. Necessity birthed not ambition's fire, but survival's blade hard to chain such root. Better roads, tavern edicts chased rogues little. Wolves veered trails, night hunted lone or lean. Daylight cloaked as porter toiler watch nightfall unveiling thief. Civilian criminal veil thinned gossamer, law learned late. Vast realms nursed peril. Wood thickets, ruined cloisters, plain sweeps, past spirals laws, reach faltered faint. Gang bloomed leagues off, untouched, fierce. Hangings, wheelings, higher blade hunts, called some, roads birthed twins, profit tempted keen, lone strike outpaced moon's toil. Noble ransom rivaled yearly wage, lore lured worse. Noble thief lays, lord outwitting, sages romancing peril, drawing youth dreaming crossroads corpses spurned for hearth song. Wolves lingered then sparser, softer tread yet road dreads, echo pure. Dark wood, throat pass, wanderers murmur eternal. Who shadows the bend? Marco Polo's path unfolded no epic quest, nor saintly trek, but venture pragmatica, merchant's odyssey, unbound. 13th century trade veins pulsed Europe's soul-bold hearts beyond pale shores, threading realms by wit, purse, valor, raw. Venetian cradle hummed, salt spray sailors, spice veils, silk shimmers, tongues exotic, realm whispers, vast. Yet Adriatic's lap cradled scant prep for horizons unfolding. His chronicle etched not lands alone, but more as alien desires weave, welcome's warmth, bonds recast. Eastern Mediterranean breached, customs danced light-veiled. Venice bound matrimony kingold, altar seal stern. Eastward rites challenged root thoughts. Persian welcome ritual sacred, honor code, ancient, guest-fed, shielded, revered stranger saint. Yielding stretched intimate hosts proffered solace shocking Latin vein. Armenia, Persia, wove wedlock taut flex, clan forged knots beside fleeting vows Latin Europe's stranger. Households heaped wives, concubines as ranks gleam, not cinch-rowed, Venetian Christian yoke chafed. This realm entranced, jarred, compelled chronicle. Central steps, caravan nests, blurred kin duty, heart alliance. Nomad women wielded reins freer than Europe's veiled. Herds ruled, trade struck, life social open. Venice deemed unthinkable, Marco marveled. Persia pierced first love, troth, yearning not fixed stars, but culture's breath. Khan's court beckoned revelations deeper still. Persia met, hospitality transcended grace right solemn, peril sweet. Host steamed wanderer, dust-glad, God-touched, spurned guest shamed heaven, brace blessed. Marco, sea city envoy, noble draped in alien silk. Welcomed on threshold cross, carpets unfurled gemmed, cool bowls hand-laved, platters pomegranate glow. Date cloy lamb tender, rice fragrant waft, bony deepened, full shield, secret trust. Knight's companion proffered, daughter veil servant soft lone rest banished refusal slighted grave. Marco veiled discreet, European gaze wary hints alone. Kindness is vast, fitting honors. Women guest revered. Kin to custom read true. Persian troth, layered enigma. Families arranged unions with the quiet precision of ancient rituals. Weaving dowries, lands, and clan bonds into enduring tapestries. Yet, in a gentle paradox, fleeting marriages bloomed alongside the eternal brief vows spanning days or moons, deemed lawful and honorable in shadowed valleys. To a Venetian's startled gaze, such fluidity seemed a dream unbound. To Persians, it flowed as natural as river through timeless tradition. Concubinage graced the hearth too, not as fleeting vice, but hearth's quiet expansion weaving airs, fortifying packs. Women in these veils wielded subtle sway, mistresses of melody, verse, barter, home's hidden pulse. Marco watched, entranced, as they shaped whispers into power. village to village, merchant hall to noble tent. Caravan chieftains, Cleopatra's bonds revealed fluid grace, honor's deep root, welcome's warm embrace, guests wove into hearth's rhythm. Marco, keen scribe, etched awe, tempered by restraint, ambiguity's soft veil. Persia unveiled hospitality's sensual veil, politics' subtle thread. Humanity's tender pulse-priming senses for Silk Road enigmas yet to unfold. For Marco Polo, Persia's sands marked but threshold. Deeper the Silk Road beckoned, artery alive with camels grown under mountain sigh. Caravans miles long, threading humanity's weave. Sarais rose as crossroads' eternal fortress, courts where China's silk met India dye. Arabia's spice kissed Armenia's stone. Not mere inns, but universes enfolded. Vast stone yards, gates sealed at dusk's hush, no soul stirring in or out. Night swirled human tapestry. Merchants bartered neath star veil. Cooks coaxed meat flame glow, lutes plucked alien dreams. Taleweavers spun desert wraiths, demon whispers, storm furies, silk secrets, bonds forged, peril shared. Persian steed trader clasped Chinese silk lord for shield. Armenian seeker joined Mongol train for passage safe. Alliances breathed ephemeral guardian dawn. Rival dusk yet, nightly rites renewed. Bread broken, solemn, tidings traded low, trust's delicate sway. Sarai pulse hummed intimacy's hush. Strangers flung fate, clothes sought solace soft. Women of caravan weave traders. Minstrels, hearth tenders warmed desert chill. Marco veiled hints, converse enchanting, night dance sway, road weary finding balm, loneliness bred frailty. Such ties mended heart and packed alike. Trade's realm layered deep, wine sealed vows, tea whispers, mares, milk ferment, dowries pledged, troths informal bloomed. Merchant pledged daughter for venture sealed. Kin vowed futures o'er spice and gleam. Silk Road bore not silk alone, but heart's quiet cargo kinships, flames, feuds, faiths, flowing rich as hoard. Here Eurasia breathed, linked breath, bonds rivaled roots gold. Night cradled kin knew yarn fresh, peril Valdemarco sensed web vast. Persia two-step breach unveiled gender's bold recast, wedlock's supple ben, ties raw truth. Venice cloaked wives domestic shade, dash dowry, dash chain, altar rule, kin watch stern, steps breathed freedom stark. Turks, Uyghurs, nascent Mongols, loosed women, astride household helm, barter queen, tribal murmur. Matrimony pragmatic flowed, kin wove yes, yet survival's hand guided, not creed's iron. Turk brides bore not bloom alone, but toil strong. Steed herd, alliance thread valued kin to flesh's grace. Marco lauded stepwomen, resolute, voice clear, public stride Venetian court's alien gleam. Polygamy graced chiefs, herd lords ample, not excess, but hearth's broad tent sustenance, shelter, flock shield. Wives reigned camp realms distinct, servant-led, child guide, bounty ward. Power true, not symbols, ghost meat carved, herd marshaled, guest graced. Welcome step holy, wanderer, can instant, roof-bound sacred, rites communal bound, mare milk toast, firetail circle, song weave, boundaries blurred, emotion practical, to companionship, proffered honor's gift, ties forge not, scandal's snare, survival's balm, Venice-bound flesh fetters, step pulsed life's unhurried tide, wedlock partnership free, women unveiled, welcome's warmth prelude to concourt splendor. Mongol threshold crossed, bonds turned, governances loom not whim, but empires warp. Vastest land, realm history, new-wielded troth, line, intimacy as horsemen fierce. Heart-pulsed great khans swarm, wives ranked, tribute ladies, pack seals. Courts awed Marco, tent vasts, silk draped, gold carpet hush, lute dance swirl, servant stream. Women no bauble dim, noble coals tribute bound, diplomat, weave, clan leash. Concubinage unities, artethnic, vasts knit. Concubines, rose wit, word, sunseed, palace wings ruled, ledger keen, plea gate, etiquette drill, melody gift, converse, art serene, command, Venetian scandal, Mongol norm, con wedlock, customs clear, intertribal bridge, beasts, silk steel, barter, lives claimed right rare, hoard hold, herd rule law step, mobility, free ride, roam, toil canorps shade unmatched. Marco hailed women bold, hearth political core. Welcome con lavish, banquet flood, milk endless, dance song bloom. Households graced guests can deep, honors yield intimate, Marco veiled. Attentions fit, travel a solace implied, explicit shunned. Pragmatic grace odd, Catholic yoke bent not, sensuality, diplomat, kin strategy, seamless. Ties personal imperial silked, steel potent unimagined realm. Cathay threshold, song south Yuan north, unveiled polish profound, Mongol might pragmatic awed. Chinese courts refined enthralled, intent etched all, arch form, verse breath, manner grace, scent whisper, stride measured. Bonds carried, restraint sensual, profound hush. Cathay troth, harmony's art, Venice dowry honor stern bent. Unions can astrologer matchmaker weave, fate scrolled gentle. Compatibility weighed heavily in marriage decisions, as did auspicious birth dates and the delicate balance of yin and yang. A good match was never just about wealth or status, it was about cultivating a household flowing with harmony and peace. Women held a fascinating role in this culture. While elite women largely stayed within defined domestic spheres, they were highly educated in poetry, music, calligraphy, and courtly etiquette. Their influence, though often indirect, was profound as skilled woman's ability to host, entertain, and advise could elevate her entire household's prestige. Marco Polo admired their grace, artistry, and the way they moved with an effortless composure that seemed almost otherworldly. Alongside these noble women were the courtesans, trained in refined conversation, music, and poetry, whose role was to entertain merchants and nobles within tea houses or private gardens. Unlike concubines in the Mongol courts, courtesans in Cathay symbolized urban sophistication. Marco describes gatherings where these women played stringed instruments, recited verses, and exchanged witty banter with their guests. Intimacy here was as much intellectual as it was physical. A meaningful glance or a whispered poem carried far more weight than overt displays of affection. Concubinage also existed, but carried less political significance than it did among the Mongols. Wealthy men kept concubines for lineage, household management, or companionship. But even these women were expected to master courtly arts like etiquette and poetry. Their presence added complexity, but the focus remained on maintaining internal harmony rather than asserting dominance. Hospitality in Cathay blended sensuality with elegance. Guests were welcomed with scents of incense and camphor, warm tea, silken cushions, and soft music playing gently behind lattice screens. Pleasure was never rushed, it unfolded naturally. Marco noted how emotional, intellectual, and physical comforts were seamlessly intertwined, as if the Chinese had mastered not only the art of living, but also making a guest feel deeply and effortlessly at ease. After witnessing the raw power of Mongol life and the rugged freedom of the steppe, Cathay seemed to dream a realm where relationships were polished art, desire expressed in poetry, ceremony, and the gentle rustle of silk. To understand Marco Polo's experiences at the Mongol and Chinese courts, one must enter the private world. Behind the silk screens, the lives of the women of the Great Khan. Their lives shimmered with luxury and strict protocol. Yet these women wielded influence far beyond what Western chroniclers could imagine. Marco's descriptions are measured, but between the lines reveal a world where intimacy was political currency, femininity cultivated like a high art, and beauty both celebrated and governed. Each year, officials selected accomplished young women not just for beauty but for skill in singing, instrument playing, poetry, and court etiquette. These chosen maidens embodied imperial prestige, with families viewing selection as an honor and a pathway to power. In the palace, life followed strict rhythms. Women lived in dedicated quarters, trained by senior attendants in courtly arts. Marco noted their meticulous grooming, perfumed baths, silk garments, and ornate jade and gold-adorned hairstyles. The palace smelled of incense, camphor, and flowers floating in carved basins. Beneath this elegance lay quiet, relentless competition. Favored women rose in status. Others blended into obscurity. During grand processions, selected women accompanied the Khan in silk-adorned pavilions, paired with oils, perfumes, and fresh robes. A chosen woman's ceremonial entrance to the Khan's quarters symbolized harmony, prosperity, and imperial grandeur. Every gesture and appearance detail was deliberate, reinforcing imperial power. Favored women gained lands, servants, influence. They advocated for relatives, negotiated with ministers, and acted as intermediaries. Marco hints at their emotional complexity. Pampered yet constrained, influential yet replaceable. Their relationships intertwined with empire politics. Balancing sensual refinement and authority in a system Marco could observe, but never fully grasp. Living between worlds, Marco found himself unique, Westerner, neither fully outsider nor insider. His writings hint at dinners and private gatherings where merchants, nobles, courtesans, scholars, warriors, and entertainers mingled freely. These moments were the heart of his overseas experience, blending cultures and shaping profound relationships. Banquets blended Mongol meats, Chinese delicacies, Persian wines, and northern mare's milk, accompanied by music, uniting fiddles, zithers, and drums from across continents. Mingled scents of ginger, garlic, incense, roasted lamb, and steamed fish filled the air. Stories flowed. Persian tales of Sufi mystics, Chinese verses of longing and moonlit rivers, Mongol tales of frozen lake battles. Marco drank it all in the accents, gestures, proverbs, and songs. These gatherings were more than entertainment. They molded connections. Hospitality encouraged emotional openness, valuing ability to drink, converse, and appreciate music over rank. Women participated actively: musicians, dancers, storytellers, companions shaping discourse with wit and grace. Romance warmed these tales, though Marco's descriptions remained delicate, hinting at affection and courteous company rather than explicit detail. Friendships blossomed across language barriers. Marco grew close to interpreters, scholars, and officials who admired his curiosity, lifelong companions in service of Kublai Khan. Together, they debated philosophy, traded jokes, exchanged gifts, and forged brotherhoods impossible on Europe's dangerous roads. Through these experiences, Marco expanded emotionally, learning that hospitality could be sensual, intellectual, and familial, often all at once. These lessons taught him how to travel Asia and how to belong, if only briefly. Returning to Venice after over 2 decades, Marco was a stranger, changed by desserts. Courts, steppe feasts, Chinese gardens, and Mongol diplomacy. The familiar canals felt both comforting and confining. The greatest distance wasn't geographic, but emotionally carried relationships across cultures that few Venetians could imagine. His book, Il Milione, delivered wonders to Venetian readers: palaces of gold, paper money, exotic beasts, and invisible trade. Yet, his subtlest gift lay in hinting at deep human connections, friends who guided mountain passes, scholars debating in the Khan's halls, entertainers easing his loneliness, women of grace and strength, whose memory he preserved in careful veiled prose. Marco was a diplomat, aware of his audience's sensibilities. His indirect praise of these relationships conveyed warmth and complexity, without scandal. Venice doubted his intimacy tales, not the geography. How could a merchant so truly understand Mongol marital diplomacy, Cathay's intellectual courtesans, or Persia's fiery hospitality? Yet he did. Ironically, the bonds Marco forged in Asia outshone many at home. His Venice marriage was respectable, but lacked the wonder found on the Silk Road among the worlds he traversed. Marco Polo's memories of palace singers, Mongol attendants, Chinese hostesses pouring tea by candlelight, and steppe women riding like queens lingered long after he earned the name Il Milione, the storyteller whose tales some doubted. In truth, Marco Polo recorded not only the geography of Asia but its hearts, and part of him forever, never truly left Cathay. Marco's accounts in Il Milione blend detailed observation with narrative artistry. While some medieval skeptics questioned the authenticity of his stories, modern scholarship affirms many details as broadly accurate, especially on economic, cultural, and political customs in Asia. His depictions of hospitality, marriage customs, and court life are supported by archaeological and Chinese historical records, though clearly framed by the lens of a Venetian traveler navigating unfamiliar cultures. Marco described how families in Persia meticulously arranged marriages, negotiating dowries and alliances, while also practicing temporary marriages, accepted as lawful and practical. Wealthy men kept concubines, who often held genuine influence in managing households and arts. As Marco traveled deeper into Central Asia and the Mongol Empire, he found women with more autonomy and roles in politics and household management, contrasting significantly with European norms. In Mongolia and Cathay, he witnessed a sophisticated system where women at court, especially those chosen as companions to the Great Khan, were carefully selected for grace, intelligence, and skill in arts that elevated imperial prestige. Their lives were shaped by strict protocol, yet endowed with real power, acting as intermediaries and influencers. Marco's descriptions present a world where intimacy was fused with authority and diplomacy, and where the cultural expression of relationships intertwined with political strategy. The hospitality Marco encountered, whether in Persian caravanserais filled with diverse travelers, at the Mongol court or in Chinese palaces, blended sensuality, intellectual engagement, and ritual. Courtesans in Cathay hosted gatherings rich in music, verse, and wit, while Buddhist and Mongol traditions offered roles to women with freedoms unusual in medieval Europe. Marco's writings often allude delicately to affection and companionship without explicit detail, respecting cultural norms while capturing the nuance of his experience. When Marco Polo finally returned to Venice after decades, he bore a lifetime of cultural memories that his compatriots often found unbelievable. Both wondrous and intimate tales of a world where relationships were intricate, fluid, and deeply interwoven with politics, art, and survival. Though his written legacy sometimes mixes fact and embellishment, it endures as a vivid portrait of a complex Eurasian world far different from medieval Europe. Witnessed through the eyes of a keen observer who lived between worlds, Caesar had bequeathed his gardens to the Roman public, his fortune to every citizen gathered there, his profound affection to the very people now beholding his mutilated form. In that singular, breathless moment, Antony transmuted Caesar from shadowed tyrant in the eyes of some martyred guardian of the Republic. The crowd erupted like a storm, long brewing shouts cascading through the forum's ancient stones. Burn the traitors' homes, avenge Caesar. What began as solemn rite dissolved into fury's tide. Benches splintered for pyre fuel, flames leaping streetward as mobs surged toward conspirators' shadowed doors. Antony observed, countenance etched grave as marble, yet within certainty bloomed he had wrought precisely the chaos desired. The assassin stood, condemned by the people's roar. With one oration, Antony recast Rome's morrow, grief forged to wrath, fealty to retribution, fallen despot to sacred call. Civil tempests ignited, his spark the first faint glow. In Caesar's funeral's wake, Rome plunged into assassins' whispers, mobbed frenzy, desperate grapples for dominion's helm. At Tempest's heart loomed Mark Antony, architect of the Republic's upheaval through eloquence alone. Yet even he could not saw-wield the city's fractured might. Conspirators fled eastward shadows. Legions stirred, senators quailed. From gloom emerged a youth scarce 20 winters, bearing Caesar's blood and named Gaius Octavius, destined Augustus. Antony misjudged him at dawn, as did legions more. Frail-seeming, bookish, callow yet heir to Caesar's vaults. Veterans' oaths, propaganda's subtle blade. Antony, spirit's heir, Octavian, law's vessel, Republic quivered anew. Neither could alone fell Brutus, Cassius shades. West 43 BCE, chill Bonania field witnessed pact grim. Antony, Octavian. Lepidus sundered realm threefold, not accord gentle, but blood doth lace distrust. Veiled legal dictatorship, veiled legal sheen. First decree, purge vast. Prescription scrolls named foe senators hundreds, knights thousands, to blade or exile. Cicero, Antony's scourge venomous, graced Antony's quill. Octavian nodded. Orator hunted, hands had nailed rostra ward, message carved brutal. Cross me thus, home front quelled. Ambius marched east, against Brutus Cassius. Antony led left at Philippi. Dusk-clad fury incarnate orders thundered. ranks rallied personal. Octavian, ailing novice, tent-bound. Antony's triumph theirs. Liberators broken. Brutus Gauchus, sword fell. Liberty's last sigh. Post-Philippi, spoils repetitioned. Lepidus cast servant low. Octavian claimed West's Roman core. Antony East's opulent heart wealth hoard. Culture vain. Conqueror's meed, yet East cradled more than gold. Cleopatra awaited queen to unmake his stars. 41 BCE, Tarsus harbor gleamed Antony's sails. Philippa fresh, client queen's fealty expected. Instead, nature's tempest met him. Cleopatra 7, Ptolemaic twilight's flame, glided Cydnus river barge divine. Purple sails gossamer, silver oars hush, Cupid attendants breathed myth. Perfume hazed waters, flute's side breeze, center throned, radiant, reckoning keen. Antony, Bruta, Scassius bane, Rome's terror, stilled awestruck. No prostration yielded, lauded, probed, she grasped unseen. Antony craved not sway alone, but spectacles blaze, acclaims roar, passions forge, while she bestowed measured. Dialogue sparked jewel. Antony vaunted triumphs. Cleopatra countered, lineage lore, lore's 9 tongues. Laughter boomed. Wit pierced keen. She countered lavish his feet her splendor's threshold. That eve Rome's soldier tented luxury's veil, gold chalice gleam, couch jewel, dancer's whirl, poet lilt, lute dream. Austerities, air disarmed, ensnared, enchanted, bespoke. Cleopatra seduced not flesh soul, but fate's grand weave, Caesar's echo no more. King enthroned felt. The flame kindled swift. Alexandria winter, Antony forsook duty. Feasts cascaded, hunts thundered, fish games laughed, philosophy probed, wine nights reveled kin. Inimitable livers bloomed, pleasure cult, mirth's hoard, excess vow, intoxication pure. Rome's foes deemed scandal profane. Cleopatra weighed deeper. Antony's aegis craved 'gainst foes. Rome's maw. Antony beheld match flame, ambition's twin, realm dream, eastborn. Rome watched hawk keen. Senators sneered. Lion no more, Egyptian veiled. Octavian, hush patient, honed blade perception sharp. Alexandria's splendor, Antony's respite deemed. Rival spied opportunity gold. Triumvirate, withered. Lepidus, rebellion crushed. Power stripped servant. Rome halved giants. Containment fled.
Octavian West Heart, Roman, Antony East Engine, affluent.
Distrust. Storm bloomed. Spark flared. Antony spurned Octavian's kin. Dignity's bloom Rome adored. Wed for truce. Fragile now sundered. Cleopatra queen peer. Council strategos. Octavian gifted venom. Antony villain gossip wife cast. East preferred foreign leash.
Knife plunged deeper. Will cease dref? Senate voiced. Alexandria burial vowed. Ptolemaic heirs land dowered. Self-eastern crowned. Not Roman helm. Senators gasped horror. Foe kindled rage. Antony Erno, foe incarnate. Antony countered. Alliance forged. Legion secured. Loyalty proclaimed. Octavian gripped core. Capital, Senate, veterans, narratives thrown. War framed not Roman kin clash, but republic 'gainst Egypt, virtue 'gainst vice. Antony led distrusted realm 'gainst Octavian's beloved. Triumvirate dust, republic name veiled corpse. Final strife personal inexorable soul Rome enduring. 32 BCE, Antony Octavian feud crisis, existential burgeoned. Words war to steel, legions marshaled, fleets surged, allies pledged, millions hopes gambled. Antony Cleopatra Ionian floated, fate tilted grim, fleet vast, veterans honed, east wealth backed. Octavian wielded, Agrippa naval, aegis peerless, isles gripped, supplies severed, a CTIUM dash trapped, dash Greece, dash west windy haven. Antony caged, retreat barred, advance denied, famine gnawed slow, morale ebbed mist, plague camped, desertions whispered daily. Officers murmured, Cleopatra's shade fed propagandy, foreign, un-Roman, corrupt. Antony clung, council prized, fleet vital, abandoned unthinkable life, rules twin. September 2nd, 31 BCE, fleets locked. Actium no glory clash, grinding doom slow. Suetoni's behemoth soldier bristled. Agrippa's lithe swarmed swift. Arrows blackened heaven. Rams screamed Holok. Cleopatra gambled desperate. Squadron cleaved melee South Egypt bound. Antony spied purple Ptolemaic sails, horizon vanished. Instant shattered. Battle forsaken, formation sundered. Pursuit Cleopatra. Soldiers beheld treason, foes corruption proof. Antony loved despair's child, war loss known. Actium unmade authority. Legions yielded. Allies fled. East provinces Octavian's war. Alexandria fled. Realm imploded, star dying. Alexandria aftermath. Antony's Roman husk crumbled. Wine drowned heavy. Command shunned. Octavian's ring tightened, Egypt hoard. Defiant still, lion bloodied unbowed. Actium prelude, tragic finale. Actium's ruin fled Antony, Cleopatra, Alexandria. Power's embers clutched. Realm dissolved. Governors Octavian defected. Grain ceased. Legions knelt. Gilded snare Alexandria. Tragedy's close stage. Rally faint grasped. Spirit fractured. Wine veil seclusion. Octavian's coil watched. Cleopatra schemed. Fleet diplomat. Hoard veiled. Parley final. Antony beheld frenzy betrayal mistook. Octavian's tide 30 BCE. Egypt invaded. Last stand. Loyal remnant. Outmatched. Cleopatra's sails yielded fightless rumor. Alive Queen's mausoleum refuge. Octavian spread. Espeth lie. Antony rent. Cleopatra lost believed. Roman general's sole honor ceased self, steel stomach deep. Wound lingered, word pierced, alive. Servants hoisted blood-weak street ward Alexandria. Cleopatra mausoleum barred Octavian flight. Window hoist, dying gaze final dim gold perfume stone. Cleopatra heeded not. Octavian met, Rome trophy shunned. ASBIT chose method veiled still. Antony Cleopatra dust, Octavian Egypt claimed. Rivals quelled. Augustus rose republic's hush eternal. Augustus stood atop the Capitoline hill, gazing over the eternal city that now bent to his will. The forum below, still scarred from the funeral pyre that had consumed Caesar's body, hummed with the quiet industry of reconstruction. Smoke no longer choked the air with the scent of burning wood and righteous fury. Instead, masons hammered marble, merchants called their wares in measured tones. And senators, those who had survived the proscriptions, moved with cautious deference through the porticos. Rome breathed again, but it was a different breath, steady and controlled, like the measured rise and fall of a sleeper finally at rest after fevered dreams. Octavian, now Augustus, the revered one, had not merely won a war. He had remade the world.
Us.
The transformation began slowly, almost imperceptibly, as if the empire itself were exhaling the chaos of the past. Augustus understood that brute force alone could not hold Rome together. The legions that had crushed Antony at Actium needed purpose beyond slaughter. He turned them to the soil, settling veterans on fertile estates confiscated from the defeated. In Italy's heartlands, once bloodied by civil strife, new farms bloomed under soldier plows. Vines twisted up trellises, olive groves whispered in the breeze, and grain fields rippled golden under Mediterranean sun. These were no idle grants. They were anchors, binding the army's loyalty to the land and the land to Augustus's name. I found Rome a city of brick, he would later boast, and left it a city of marble. But beneath the gleaming facades lay a deeper architecture, stability forged from the embers of ambition. In the Senate, Augustus played the long game with masterful subtlety. He restored the facade of republican virtue, calling himself princeps first citizen rather than rex, the forbidden word of kings. Senators who had trembled under the triumvirs' lists now praised him in honeyed orations, their rings glinting on fingers, unbloodied by recent memory. He expanded the body, co-opting provincial elites with Italian names, diluting old patrician power while granting them a taste of prestige. Meetings in the Curia, Julia his grand new Senate house enfolded with ritual precision. Debates on aqueducts, grain distributions, frontier defenses, yet every motion, every vote, circled back to the princeps' nod.
Augustus was the sun around which the Republic's ghost now orbited, its rays polite illusions.
The Era Passus, altar of Augustan peace, rose as marble testament to this new dawn. Conceived in 13 BCE, its friezes carved processions of the imperial family. Draped in togas flowing like serene rivers, children at their hymns symbolizing fertility reborn. Vines and flora wove through the scenes, a garden of peace amid stone, evoking the golden age prophesied by Virgil.
Abdications.
Whispered of Pax Romana, the peace that followed Actium's thunder, a peace bought with Antony's blood and Cleopatra's asp. Pilgrims from Gaul to Syria would touch its cool flanks, murmuring prayers for the emperor's health, their coins clinking into temple coffers. Yet peace had its shadows. Augustus's moral reforms swept through Rome like a cleansing wind. Laws against adultery stiffened, rewarding marriage and progeny with tax breaks. Shaming the childless with scornful labels like capable of sunlight but not children. Julia, his own daughter, would later test these edicts, her scandals rippling through high society like stones in a still pond. But the message endured. Rome's future lay in families, not factions, hearths, not battlefields. The emperor positioned himself as pater patriae, father of the fatherland, his portrait on coins stern yet paternal, laurels framing eyes that had seen too much. Frontiers expanded methodically, less conquest's frenzy than surgeon's incision. Agrippa, ever this steadfast shadow, subdued Cantabria's hills. Tiberius tamed the Alps' rebellious tribes. Drusus ventured into German forests, his legions hacking paths through ancient woods where Teutonic whispers echoed. Parthia, that eternal thorn, bent knee in diplomacy. Returning Crassus's lost eagles in 20 BCIA, triumph bloodless, propaganda pure. Augustus framed it as cosmic balance restored, standards gleaming in processions while bards sang of eastern submission. Egypt, prize of Actium, became Augustus's private domain. No senator set foot in Alexandria without imperial leave. Its granaries fed Rome's million mouths. Nile barges gliding heavy with wheat under watchful prefects. Cleopatra's palace, once revelry's heart, now housed clerks tallying papyri taxes. The queen's children Caesarion, executed. Twins Alexander Helios and Cleopatra, Selene parceled to Roman tutors, faded into history's hush, their Ptolemaic fire quenched. Literature flowered under this measured sun. Virgil's Aeneid wove Rome's founding into divine epic. Augustus as Augustus Caesar, heir to Aeneas's piety. Horace's odes praised country peace, Sabine Farm's quiet toil. Livy's histories burnished the past, alighting republic's frailties to glorify imperial dawn. Patrons like Maecenas funded these voices, their villas gardens of muse and marble, fountains murmuring approval.
Out.
Yet cracks lingered beneath marble veneer. Germania's dark woods claimed Varus's legions in 09 CE, 3 eagles lost in Teutoburg's rain-lashed ambush. Augustus reportedly wandered palace nights wailing Quintilius Varus, "Give me back my legions." The empire's edges frayed Britain simmered. Parthian smiles hid daggers. Jewish zealots stirred in Jerusalem's shadows. Succession loomed shadowlong. Augustus's heirs' grandchildren poisoned or exiled. Tiberius reluctant tested the pox's fragility. Daily Rome pulsed with Augustan rhythm. Augustus Claudia's precursor channeled mountain snow to fountains where slaves filled amphorae at dawn. Forums bustled, fishmongers hawking Nile perch, vintners pouring Falernian gold, bakers sliding loaves from smoky ovens. Thermae steamed invitingly, baths social as sacred men, debating politics in frigidarium chill, women gossiping amid caldarium mists. Chariot races thundered Circus Maximus, greens blues betting frenzied. While theaters echoed Terence's comedies, laughter rippling tiered stone, nights fell gentle over Tiber's murmur, lanterns glowed insulate windows, taverns spilling lute song and dice clatter. Lovers strolled Palatine slopes, moonlight silvering temple pediments. Augustus's reforms touched even these intimacies' laws, curbing ostentation, promoting simple wool over silk excess. The city slept under watchful vigils, fire watchers patrolling tile roofs, bells tolling hours through quiet streets. Augustus aged gracefully, face lined like ancient olive bark, eyes sharp as ever. In 14 CE, his end came quiet at Nola, whispers of poison swirling though poisoners long since passed. Tiberius succeeded amid subdued pomp, Rome's machinery humming unbroken. The Princeps Pax Augusta endured to centuries. borders stretching from misty Caledonia to sun-baked Judea, trade veins pulsing spice, silk, amber. Christianity stirred catacombs, gladiatorial sands drank less blood under Hadrian's ban, yet seeds of decline whispered. Overextension strained legions. Inflation gnawed denarii. Barbarians pressed rain-soaked frontiers. Antony's ghost lingered faint fairy foil to Augustus's cool steel. Where Antony blazed passion's comet, Augustus architected enduring dawn. Their clash birthed empire from republic's husk, personal loves and hates reshaping millions' fates. Rome's story, born in forum flames, slumbered long under imperial peace, dreaming of wolves once loosed, now leashed by marble hand. As Augustus's reign deepened, the administrative genius that underpinned his rule came into sharper focus. The emperor did not govern alone. He orchestrated a vast bureaucracy, blending republican traditions with monarchical efficiency. Prefects oversaw vigils, firefighting, and night watches. Praetorian guards shadowed his steps. Provincial governors reported via cursus publicus couriers, galloping relay stations. Taxes flowed. Systematic census stakers tallied hearths, harvests, slave counts. Egypt's cornfields yielded 8 million modi grain yearly. Rome's dole-sustaining plebs through unknown distributions. Ashes joined Forum's mausoleum, a circular drum evoking eternity's wheel. Pax Augusta endured 2 centuries, borders stretching from misty Caledonia to sun-baked Judea, trade veins pulsing spice, silk, amber. Christianity stirred catacombs, gladiatorial sands drank less blood under Hadrian's ban, yet seeds of decline whispered. Overextension strained legions. Inflation gnawed denarii. Barbarians pressed rain-soaked frontiers. Antony's ghost lingered faint fairy foil to Augustus's cool steel, where Antony blazed passion's comet. Augustus architected enduring dawn. Their clash birthed empire from republic's husk, personal loves and hates reshaping millions' fates. Rome's story, born in forum flames, slumbered long under imperial peace, dreaming of wolves once loosed, now leashed by marble hand. As Augustus's reign deepened, the administrative genius that underpinned his rule came into sharper focus. The emperor did not govern alone. He orchestrated a vast bureaucracy, blending republican traditions with monarchical efficiency. Prefects oversaw vigils, firefighting, and night watches. Praetorian guards shadowed his steps. Provincial governors reported via cursus. Publicus couriers galloping relay stations. Taxes flowed. Systematic census takers tallied hearths, harvests, slave counts. Egypt's cornfields yielded 8 million modi grain yearly. Rome's dole-sustaining plebs through unknown distributions. Legal reforms steadied justice's scales. The 12 tables evolved into Praetorian edicts, codified under Hadrian later, ensuring predictability amid empire's sprawl. Augustus curbed usury's excesses, protected widows and orphans, standardized coinagorious gold-steading trade from Rhine marts to Indian Ocean emporia. Cultural patronage bloomed deliberate. Raises, Rose Palatine's Apollo temple housed scrolls, Greek and Latin. Octavia's portico memorialized Marcellus, shelves groaning Virgil, Cicero, Homer. Academies drew scholars from Athens' groves, Pergamon's halls lectures on rhetoric. Philosophy, astronomy, filling lecture halls with togaed youth. Agriculture revived under his eye. Columella's treatises later echoed Augustan push. Vineyards terraced Apulia slopes. Olive presses hummed Campania hills. Cattle grazed Lucanian meadows. Irrigation channels laced Po Valley, turning marsh to meadow. The Lex Julia promoted fertility. Fines for celibacy funding aqueducts, a demographic bulwark against plague and war's toll. Military evolution marked his legacy profound. Legions professionalized, 20,000 strong each. Eagle standards revered as gods. Centurions forged in discipline's fire. Auxiliaries from Gaul, Thrace, Syria swelled ranks. Citizenship carrot for 25 years' service. Camps like Vetera Castra on Rhine frontier anchored borders. Granaries bursting, forges ringing anvils, dawn to dusk. Frontier policy balanced hawk and dove. Rhine Danube lines fortified. Lime's roads patrolled watchtowers vigilant. Hadrian's wall later echoed this template, turf and stone barring Caledonian wilds. Diplomacy wove peace's thread. Armenian kings enthroned puppets. Parthian envoys banqueted silk-clad. Personal life veiled public grandeur. Livia Drusilla, wife steel-willed, whispered council close. Their union childless. Adopted heirs Tiberius. Drusus carried line. Julia's exile, Pandateria, isle for adultery, shadowed domestic bliss. Whispers of Livia's hand lingering like Tiber fog. Augustus navigated religion's sacred streams. Pontifex Maximus restored temples crumbling. Jupiter Optimus Maximus regilded thunderous. Vestal's flames tended eternal. Imperial cult dawned subtle. Provincial altars hailed Divus Iulius. Augustus Genie worshipped Greek East. Arapacis rites sanctified peace. Priestly colleges chanted auspices favorable. Economy throbbed, revitalized. Mines Hispania, silver veins yielded. Noricum iron forges glowed. Egyptian porphyry quarries shipped vein-laced columns adorning fora. Trade exploded. Baraneki Red Seaport funneled pepper, ivory gems. Elmira Caravan Nexus Bridge Desert Rome. Denarius silver-stamped Augustus pure aureus. Aureum gleamed merchants' palms. Society stratified anew. Equestrians rose procuratorial posts. Wealthy quests serving state finance. Freedman Narcissus ilk wielded secretarial sway. Plebs and nona fed. Ludi spectacles circus theater glutted senses. Nomachia mock naval. Clashes flooded amphitheaters. Women navigated reformed moors. Vestal's patrician virgin sacred Flaminica Dialis Juno priestess rites arcane. Alivia exemplum virtutus minted coins. Titles Augusta, post-mortem. Yet whispers Claudian scandals hinted undercurrents turbulent. Aging Augustus reflected AD 14 Nola Villa. Coma claimed him peacefully. Last words, have I played the part well? Then applaud as I exit. Tiberius succeeded, tear-veiled, funeral procession snaked via sacra, body cremated field Mars amid eagle flight omen, legacy towered colossal. Virgil immortalized. Roman, remember rule by empire/mercy to conquered. Crush proud, principate endured, emperors succeeding flawed mosaic, Nero blaze, your Trajan conquests, Marcus meditations, Antony Cleopatra foil sharpened Augustus's portrait, passions blaze versus reason's steady flame, East's allure versus West's hearth, spectacles roar versus measured right, their saga-etched literature, Plutarch parallel lives moralized. Shakespeare Antony, Cleopatra, tragic grandeur, Dryden all for love pathos distilled. Modern echoes linger. Actium naval mastery prefigures Trafalgar. Propaganda mastery Goebbels envied. Augustus's model enlightened despots. Aped. Egyptology revived Rosetta. Cleopatra mummy hunt fueled. Yet human core endures. Antony's lion heart beat fierce till end. Cleopatra a spedified Aspian queen sovereign. Augustus architect peace fragile, mortal beneath laurel. History whispers, empires rise, architect forged, fall human frailty. Rome's marble streets today tread pilgrims, forum ghosts. Colosseum arches, frame blue sky. Pantheon dome defies time. Vatican whispers Christian turn. Night falls eternal, city gentle. Stars pierce, pollution veil. Tiber laps, bridges ancient. Cats prow, ruins feral. Wind carries faint chariot wheels. Circus ghosts. Forum echoes friends. Romans ... Double quotes faint. Sleep now. Wanderer history's hush. Antony's roar. Cleopatra's gaze. Augustus' gaze dreams weave eternal. Tomorrow, new tales beckon, slow-paced, atmospheric, endless. As the first light of dawn creeps over the 7 hills of Rome, casting long shadows across the forum where Antony's fiery words once echoed, we find ourselves drifting further into the quiet aftermath of empire's birth. Augustus, the architect of this new serenity, sits in his modest house on the Palatine far from the opulent palaces of eastern queens. No golden barges await him here, only the steady rhythm of a city remade. Marble masons continue their work below, chisels tapping like distant rain. While the Tiber murmurs secrets to its ancient banks, the Republic's ghost lingers in the air, faint as morning mist. But Augustus has woven it into something enduring, a tapestry of peace stitched with threads of caution, wisdom, and unyielding control. Let us wander slowly through the streets of this transformed Rome, where the clamor of civil war has softened to the hum of daily life. The vigils, those tireless night watchers, hand over their duties to bakers rising before the sun. Ovens glow in the pre-dawn chill, filling narrow alleys with the warm scent of emmer bread course, hearty loaves that sustain the plebs through their labors. Slaves shuffle to market with amphorae balanced on shoulders, water from Claudia's aqueducts sparkling clear. A far cry from the murky Tiber draws of old, fishmongers from Ostia unload silvery mullet and eel, their cries muffled by the fog rolling in from the sea. Fresh from Neptune's nets, they murmur scales glinting like scattered coins. In the Subora's crowded insulate, families stir. A mother spoons barley porridge to her children, sweetened with honey if fortune smiles, while her husband sharpens tools for the day's forge work. These tenements, once tinderboxes of riot, now stand under Augustus's vigilant eye prefect's patrol with measured steps, forcing curfews and dousing sparks before they spread. Upon the Aventine, freedmen gather in collegia halls, sharing wine from Sabine jars and plotting modest ventures. A pottery shop, a fuller's stall. The air carries olive oils, green Thames, garum salty bite from fish sauce vats, and the faint smoke of sacrifice from nearby shrines. As the sun climbs, the forum awakens fully. Senators in white togas glide toward the Curia Julia, their scrolls tucked under arms, debating aqueduct repairs or frontier grain levies. No longer do daggers hide in folds. Augustus's praetorians stand discreet at corners, cloaks concealing gladi. Merchants hawk Falernian wine from Campania amphorae, bolts of Egyptian linen dyed Tyrian purple. Spices from distant Malabar cinnamon sticks, curling like sleeping serpents. Peppercorns, sharp as memory. Scribe copies Virgil's verses onto wax tablets, his stylus scratching soft, arma viramic, cano, ... double quotes, arms, and the man. But now, the arms rest, the man tills. Thermae beckon mid-morning, steam rising from pools like breath from sleeping giants. Men linger in the tepidarium, debating philosophy over strigials, scraping oil from skin Epictetus's stoic whispers, Cicero's echoes refined. Women in separate wings are buzzing about Livia's latest temple dedication. And honestly, their laughter mixed with the splash of those frigidarium plunges is just the kind of vibe that makes you feel alive. Here, in this bustling space, social boundaries seem to melt away, equities are hanging out with plebs. Patrons are chatting with their clients, and everyone is just sweating it out in the sudatorium. It's like one big sweaty family reunion, right? When noon rolls around, the Circus Maximus bursts into life. Can you hear those chariots thundering around the track? Energy's electric. Greens and blues are whipping the crowds into a frenzy. Bets are flying on faction colors. And cheers are rising like waves crashing in the forum. Dust is swirling under those hoofbeats. And the sound of quadriga wheels sparking against the stone is just exhilarating. Meanwhile, spectators are munching on barley cakes and sipping that tangy Posca vinegar drink, all eyes glued to the spinous obelisks, those Egyptian trophies that Augustus loves to flaunt. It's a scene that's both chaotic and beautiful, don't you think? As the afternoon drifts into theater shadows, the vibe shifts. In Pompey's Grand Curve, actors are strutting their stuff, reciting Terence's comedies. You've got slaves outsmarting their masters and lovers scheming soft, and the laughter ripples through the tears like a warm wave. Kids are perched on their parents' knees, soaking it all in, while flute girls weave sweet melodies through the dialogue. Just nearby, gladiators are training in the sands of Ludus Magnus, the wooden rudies clacking against each other as ready-airy practice casting their nets.
All blood sports are a little tamer these days, thank goodness.
No mass slaughters, just some good old-fashioned Ludus displays honoring the princeps. As dusk settles, Rome transforms into a lavender dream. Lamps flicker to life in the tabernae, casting warm golden pools on the cobbled streets.
The aroma wafting from the taverns is mouth-watering. Think stewed lentils, garlic sausage, and those heavenly honeyed pastries from Syrian bakers. Dice are clattering on boards, and lyres are strumming melancholic tune songs about lost loves and heroic adventures. Lovers are strolling along the Capitoline slopes, hands brushing together, their whispers getting lost in the gentle breeze. The temples glow under torchlight. Vesta S. virgins are tending to the eternal flame, while the altar of Salus is sending curls of incense into the air. As night deepens, the vigils are climbing towers, scanning the tile-roofed seas for any signs of fire. The bells toll softly, marking the hours as the curfew hushes the streets. One by one, the insulae windows dim, and the sounds of snores rise like a chorus. Meanwhile, Palatine Augustus is winding down, scrolls in hand, reading dispatches from the Rhine camps and updates from Parthian envoys. Livia's by his side, needlework steady, her counsel, unspoken but felt in the air. This rhythm has been pulsing through Pax Augusta for 2 centuries now. Roads crisscross the empire, from the Appian Stones to Brundisium and the Via Egnatia, threading through the Balkans. Trade is absolutely booming. Imagine Indian ivory elephants carved into altars, Seer's silk whispering through Byzantine looms, and those stunning amber Baltic beads adorning patrician dames. Coins are circulating smoothly. Aureus gold is steady, and denarius silver is trusted from Gaul to Judea. Frontiers are held with vigilance. The Limes Germanicus watchtowers stretch along the Rhine-Danube, with mile castles standing sentinel over Britannia's wall. Auxiliaries, those fierce Batavian spears and Sarmatian cataphracts, are patrolling the mist-veiled woods and desert fringes. Diplomacy is in full swing, too. The Parthian pact remains unbroken, and those eagles lost by Crassus have returned with pomp. While Tiridates is crowned as a puppet in Armenia, culture is absolutely gilded in this golden era. Ovid's exile verses sigh about love's banishment, while Propertius's elegies mourn the pale Cynthia. Horace' ode to his Sabine farm celebrates simplicity, happy the man who far from business. And let's not forget Maecenas, whose villa blooms with roses of patronage. Historians like Tacitus later chronicled all this, while Suetonius spilled the tea on imperial quirks. Religion is renewed and sacred. Augustus as Pontifex Maximus. Restored 82 crumbling temples, Jupiter Capitolinus is booming again, and the hooves of Castor and Pollux sparkle with energy. The imperial cult in the east is flourishing, with Divus Augustus shrines popping up in Pergamon and altars in Baalbek. The west is a bit slower to catch on, but household shrines guarded by the emperor are becoming more common. Women are navigating their reformed lives with nuance. Livia is a shining example, minted on coins as Augusta postmortem, while Agrippina is weaving through the shadows. The Vestals are cloistered in sacred spaces, consulting the Sibylline books during crises. But of course there are whispers of scandals, Messalina's wild escapades, and rumors of Livia's poisons. Succession is a long shadow looming over all of this. Augustus's heirs have met tragic ends. Gaius drowned in Syria, Lucius claimed by fever, and Agrippa Postumus was exiled and slain. Tiberius stepped in reluctantly, and whispers of Germanicus's golden demise in Antioch still echo. Caligula's madness blooms, while Claudius stutters his way to the top. The economy is thriving systematically. The census Agrippa tallied showed 4 million citizens, and taxes on land and heads yield steady income. Mines in Lorient are flooding mints with silver, and Dacian gold is pouring in. The Annona grain dole feeds 200,000 daily, thanks to the bounty of Egypt's Nile. Daily rituals weave the fabric of society. Saturnalia in December is a time of revelry, where masters serve their slaves and gifts are exchanged with laughter. Lupercalia in February sees youths whipping the streets with goatskin fertility, and Vestalia in June honors Vesta with hearth cakes baked by matrons. Augustus, aged and laurel-crowned, bears the wisdom of time etched into his bark-lined face. The whispers of Nola in 14 CE echo, composed well. Applaud the curtain. Tiberius, with tears veiling his eyes, succeeds him. And the procession along the Via Sacra snakes its way through the city, with the pyre soaring into the sky like an omen. The legacy towers above all. Virgil prophesied, "Empire sands end yours." The mosaic of the Principate endures Nero's lyre-fiddled blaze. Vespasian's Colosseum rising, Trajan's Dacian gold, Hadrian's wall and Pantheon, and Marcus's meditations along the Rhine. Antony sharpens his foil against the cool Augustus. The blaze is quenched, measured. The allure of the East contrasts with the hearth of the West. Spectacles become rites of serenity. The saga, weighed by Plutarch's morals, echoes through Shakespeare's tragedies, while Shaw sparks wit in Caesar and Cleopatra's tale. The echoes of the past linger in the modern world. Augustus serves as a blueprint for total propaganda, model is one that absolutists aspire to. The battles of Actium and Salamis prefigure the struggles of today. Yet through it all, humanity endures at its core. Antony's lion heart roars for the final time. Cleopatra's gaze is that of a sovereign. Augustus stands steady, a fragile piece amidst mortals. History bids us to rise as architects of realms, yet also to recognize our frailty in their fall. Today Rome's stones are tread upon by pilgrims. The arches of the Colosseum frame the heavens. The Pantheon's oculus lets stars pierce through, and the ghosts of the Forum whisper friends, Romans. On a faint breeze, as the night hushes, the eternal stars break through the pollution veil. The Tiber laps against mossed bridges, and cats prowl through the ruins, their shadows blending with the velvet night. The wind carries whispers of chariots racing in the circus, and the soft echoes of Antony linger in the Forum. Sleep, wanderer of history, and let the stories weave around you. The roars of Antony, the gaze of Cleopatra, and the steady presence of Augustus remind us that dreams are eternal. Tomorrow, new tales beckon, slow and atmospheric, endless in their promise.